Build time in for crises. That's what our undergraduate students never do. That's why all of their printers break down 10 minutes before the assignment is due. They have, or it's like, I didn't realize this, but such and such happened and I'll be out of town for 2 days. Can I have an extension on my paper? Well, they didn't build in time for their crises, and they don't, and they're not supposed to, but you'll need to. And these are teaching crises where all of a sudden you realize nobody in the entire class gets it. Happens. A good teacher will recognize that and go back at it. And what you might need to do at that point is do a whole bunch more re-prep work or maybe some research on how you're going to teach it. And you may have to drop, now this is where they will love you and it will improve your teaching evaluations. Always add 1 chapter more on your outline than you plan to cover. Even if you don't, you'll probably end up needing the flexibility to drop something along the way. Never tell your students to read it on your own. Yeah, I don't have time to cover it. If you don't have time to cover it, just drop it. You're still covered lots for the term. But if you, around midterm time, say, we're not going to get through all this, guys, we're not going to bother with chapter 12, teaching ratings go up immediately. You've now given them a gift. Don't add things in. Always drop things off. But you have crises. You know what? You can get sick. You will learn how horrible it is to get sick and miss a class, you know, and you think this is the job where you're never allowed to be sick. People think, oh yeah, get ready for people to think you never work. You've already been through this. You know, people say to us, and I'm in administration now, but even if I wasn't, and I teach too, I'm so tired in my entire life of everybody always walking up to me in April and saying, so are you off now until September? Teachers put up with this as well, right? And the answer is no. I'm teaching in the summer, I'm doing research. What do you mean off? They also think if you're teaching 6 hours of classes a week that you're only working 6 hours a week. Nothing could be further from the truth. Very few working professors have 1 full day off work a week. If you can find a way to do it, I would highly recommend it because you will become a more balanced person. But the reality is, by 1 full day off, I mean waking up in the morning and not thinking about or looking at anything to do with work, whether that's marking or your research or anything, not checking your email. This would be impossible for me. And then going to bed that night not having even approached it. You will not find very many academics who have very many days like that. It's a life more than a job, and you know, it's a good one in many ways. But as soon as something happens to you, you know, maybe someone has an accident, becomes ill or dies, or some other life crisis happens that takes you out in the middle of the term, it's much more chaotic in your life to have to take off for a week than it is in your students. Because now you're behind by 2 classes, you're trying to find a colleague perhaps to fill in, but that's still going to put you behind, and you were supposed to have an exam, and your research data has got to be collected because that was all set up for Wednesday. This is a life that's really tough to miss a day. Calling in sick usually puts you so far behind that you just don't do it. That's probably why we're sick so much, because we always come to work sick all the time. And then you're in rooms full of 300 people. This does not help. But it's a time management thing that you almost need to figure when you schedule everything. Take a week and assume something will happen. And then if it doesn't, you're so happy by Christmas when the term breaks because you've had an extra week. But you have to be on top of your time all of the time. Your teaching activities and your materials preparation, in the first year, cut yourself a lot of slack on this one because it's what's going to take up your time. However, as you move forward into 2nd and 3rd year, what you also are going to find is that it's always easier to mark papers or prep a chapter than it is to write a lit review. Or for me, maybe that's just me. For some it's not. But for many it really is. Because it's concrete work and it has a deadline. And often when you're finally kind of trying to, and this is where we go back to that first slide where I said, get your papers out of your dissertation fast, because you're going to lose interest in it and you're going to forget the stuff. But you swear you're going to publish 3 different papers out of your dissertation because there's 3 good papers there ready to write. The lit review's done. You just got to put them together. I can't count how many people have said 2 years in, you know what, I'm afraid it's getting old and I've just never had time to publish it. Because the class deadlines are absolute deadlines. Absolute. Marking, absolute. You can always find ways to fill in your time. Lots of people have been successful in determining a research day for themselves in the week. It depends on how involved with your students you are, and I'm sure you've had profs like that that'll say, no, don't talk to me on Thursday. Thursday's my research day, or Monday, or some people get 2 days. So they will do nothing to do with their classes. They will have nothing whatsoever to do with their students on that day. They protect it. We have had a couple of deans around here who have been successful in doing that, and it's really quite impressive because dean's job is a big job, and that they can still maintain their research, and often they maintain their grad students and things. But if you can do that in your scheduling, it's a really good thing to do. You can always procrastinate on your research work. It's so easy to justify procrastination on that. So try not to. Now, and we said before, there's no one there like your doctoral supervisor to keep you on track. This is why it's really good to co-publish with people and do joint research projects, because you can keep each other on track. And if I say, okay, over to you, here's my draft, can I say I need that back by Sunday because I'm going to a conference on Monday and I won't get a chance to look at it? At least it's some kind of structure, because you won't have that structure. The first week of classes is going to be your first week where you feel like a professor for the very first time when you walk into your new academic job, and it's really cool. It's really busy. This is what you're preparing for. Over-prepare. With your course outlines, with everything. Be so ready for that first couple of classes. Talk to as many people as you can. Go to your teaching and learning centers. If your university has any kind of orientation for new professors or new faculty or new teachers, or if you're going in as a contract instructor, honest, do not miss it. Prioritize it over everything. If you're planning to go on vacation for the last 2 weeks of August and you get a letter from the Teaching and Learning Center in your new institution that says the last week in August is your new faculty orientation, change your vacation plans. This is perhaps the only real job training and support you will get, and their whole goal is to make this first year for you livable. And it really is important to go, because I know a lot of people kind of look and they'll go, well, there's a session on presentation skills, and I already know how to present because I've taught for years as a sessional or something. Go. The very biggest thing, what are you going to gain out of that orientation session more than anything else? What is the biggest thing you're going to get out of it? Colleagues, peers, friends, people in the same boat as you. And what's really cool about most orientations, right across the university. So you may meet someone from your own department and someone from an academic discipline as different as can be. It's really neat for us. We've had a number of cases over the years where faculty in our new faculty orientations actually start doing interdisciplinary research together. They bond pretty tightly. We have 3 solid days, actually 5 solid days if you add them all up. And they know each other pretty well at the end of those 4 or 5 days. And it gives them that little bit of social support. And a lot of people I referred to before are coming in from out of town. Quite often, it's the dream come true that most of us don't get, to get a full-time tenure track academic position in the city that we want to live in for our first job. I'd be worried about my star burning out shortly after it gave me that one, frankly, because you don't. So you're going heaven knows where to work for a couple of years. You may have uprooted your family, your spouse, your kids, your significant other. And you're in a strange place. So those few people you can meet on those first few days before that isolating first day of term when everybody's working on their teaching and running around by themselves is so, so valuable. Use your development of your course outline to contemplate, if you're developing it from scratch. As I say, if you can borrow somebody's, borrow it. There are millions of course outlines on the web. People post them because they don't mind other people looking at them. We have become a very close, supportive community of academics. We have indeed. Go on the web. If you're teaching Introduction to Shakespeare for the English department, Google Introduction to Shakespeare course outline. Get some ideas. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Find a textbook you're comfortable with. Write that course outline and then do everything within the context of it. Most universities will have regulations and things that have to go in. Find out early from your department. Don't start that. They will show you at your orientation, or if you don't have an orientation, get it from the departmental administrator when she gets back from vacation.